Whew, all right. Hi, I am a little bit stressed right now because I actually really have to get to the library. It is closing in like less than an hour. So let's get to it. Picture books from the library. 8 of them, starting from my least favorite to my most favorite. Okay, this one's called Ella's Umbrella. Words by Courtney Shannon Strand. Pictures by Jenica Lonesbury. I don't know. I'm going to be mean. The main thing that distracted me about this book, and this is very personal, but it's just that it seems like the illustrator maybe needed a little bit more practice drawing humans. There's just some weird anatomy things going on. I'm not sure what's going on with the knees there, but it kind of looks like there's no knees. Maybe this character isn't supposed to have knees. Their legs just come straight out and bend at the hip, which just kind of freaked me out. There's a few points where that kind of looks like what's going on. This one I feel like you can explain away just with stylisticness maybe, but this one, those legs don't belong together. There's something going on with the knees here that I don't fully understand. I think she can grow extra knees or subtract them. I don't know. It's really nitpicky. It's mean of me to say, but it was distracting for me. This is about a girl running through the rain, holding her umbrella, and kind of going on sort of a musical journey through the rain. So all of the different sounds that you hear in the rain are kind of translated into sort of a scat singing, I guess. Go, she dashes off and scoots, flip, flutter, flee, as the bluebirds trill like flutes, flee, flutter, wee. Squeak, she jazzes with the breeze, skip, scuttle, scat, as the wind blows through the trees, scat, scuttle, pat. That's it. There's not really a story besides that. As far as a book to introduce kind of like jazz concepts to children, I feel like this was a really unjazzy book. I feel like having it be about the rain and not just about, like playing a trumpet or something is fine. But it just didn't feel like it was a part of any kind of like jazz culture to me. It just felt like an unrelated thing. It felt like the jazz theme of it did not vibe with any of the other themes of it to me. So that's why it was a little weak to me. This one's called Who Done It by Oliver Talick. This one's one other one that doesn't have a story. It's just kind of a little interactive game book, more or less. So it just wasn't my type of thing, mostly because I wasn't a fan of the artwork. It kind of creeped me out in not a good way. It just has these questions. Who didn't get enough sleep? And then you kind of choose the one that didn't get enough sleep. Probably this fox that's sleeping. Who I can't read it through the camera. Who forgot a swimsuit? And like find the one that's not wearing a swimsuit. It's just that the whole way through, and then at the very last page there's a guidebook. So if you need for really little kids sort of a fun, super simple searching puzzle book, go for it. Not my thing. Okie dokie, we're moving along well. Ideas Are All Around by Philip C. Stead. This one was a surprising book. It was intriguing, and I actually really like most of the books in the stack, and this, I would say, I feel like those last two, like the Ella one was probably my negative review, this one was probably my neutral review, and this is where my positive reviews start for the rest of these books, all 6 of them, because I thought this was really good. Mostly because it intrigued me, not necessarily because it entertained me, I guess. So maybe this is just because it's the first time I read it or something. But first of all, the art style is a mixture of these paintings and photos, and you get the impression that maybe this person took these photos during a walk and then painted them because the story is about a walk that this person is taking with their dog. It's from the perspective of the author who wrote the book, saying, "Hey, my job is to write books, and today I don't know what story to write, so I'm going to go on a walk with my dog," and then that becomes the story. And I get the sense that maybe these photos are actually from that actual walk, and that this walk actually happened, and all the details in here actually maybe happened. And it's very, very like just slice of life as you can get, but I find that very charming, especially when it's in this like interesting photo versus painting art style with some symbolic stuff mixed in there. There is a little bit of this theme. It crops up I think only twice, which is a kind of strangely small amount, but this sort of anti-war message, I don't think it's enough to say it's a theme of the book, but it's like 2 pages briefly mention this like, war is bad, like extremely simplistic anti-war message. So that was maybe a little awkward, but not necessarily bad. It's really just kind of like charming and sparse, and it just kind of feels like breathing fresh air, you know, like not terribly exciting, and maybe not actually as beautiful as breathing fresh air is either, but refreshing and simple and slice of life and meditative, I guess. Although I kind of don't like using that word for books. I feel like that's an overused book word sometimes. But there was something interesting about it. Nonetheless, it surprised me, I guess is what I would say. So, unique book, worth checking out, I'd say. Especially if you, I guess, are, like, writing books. I think it's an interesting, like, oh, this is something you could do, like, that you wouldn't normally think about doing, I feel like. Just to get some variety in your examples. That's maybe a good one to do. This one's called Snail Crossing by Corey R. Tabor, or Tabor. I'm not really sure how to pronounce that. This one's got cute art. Not a huge fan of the character design of the snail itself, but I love these ants. I love the stylish simplicity of these ant designs. This is a really basic story, but it's not super linear. There's like a few surprise twists and turns. Literally, the snail wants to go across this road to get some cabbage, and he's determined, and nothing's going to stand in his way. And he ignores the car, and then these ants are like bothering him because he's in their way. But then it starts raining, and the ants are panicking, so he goes inside of his shell and he invites the ants in. And I thought this was cute. I'm just always very charmed by this. Like snails having an actual house inside their shell. It like makes zero sense because what did he shrink or something? But like that's what's charming about it. Super cartoon logic, and the ants are there and having fun. And I just think these scenes are really cute. And then of course. That's kind of the central point of the story, because after that the ants leave him, and then he encounters a crow, tries to get away from the crow, and in the process ends up making his way all the way back to the other side of the road that he had already started on, and he's nowhere near the cabbage. But that's okay, because the cabbage is coming to him because his ant friends brought it to him, to say thanks. So the ants are really sweet. They say thank you a lot, and they have this like cute little like snappy like kind of like caustic like, hey, come on, we're a bunch of mean ants or whatever, but they're like sweethearts at the end of the day. I thought that was really cute. So it's just a cute, adorable story about these cute ants, and I felt like the picture supported it well, and I was charmed by it. Okay, this one is The Only Fish in the Sea, written by Philip C. Stead. Isn't that the same person as another book? That is the same person as this Strange book, so that's interesting. I didn't realize that when I was reading them. Illustrated by Matthew Cordell this first time. Matthew Cordell's art style is extremely reminiscent of Quentin Blake, with a little bit of who else is it reminding me of? I don't have time to go and look it up, who I'm reminding, so I'm going to put it here. There's another artist that this reminds me of, an artist that I grew up with and love and own a bunch of their books, and I'll put that over here. Anyways, this is just a charmingly surreal story, and I really like the voice of the characters that comes across in this. So many of these kids' books have these charming ideas and charming stories and charming characters, or they would, except that they don't give their characters voice, they just say what's happening. This one, the story is actually told mostly just through dialogue without any other text explaining what's happening. Which I think is really nice because it, in a simplistic way, in a straightforward way, gives the characters an actual sense of personality. This boy has this kind of panicked personality, and he comes to tell the news to this, sort of relatively stoic bicycle mechanic girl, and she's got this really like no-nonsense, adventuresome spirit that is very charming to me. And they provide a lot of like interesting details about their world. Here, I'll read you the first 2 pages. Hey Sadie, did you hear about little Amy Scott? About how she got a goldfish for her birthday and then said out loud, "Goldfish are boring!" And then she walked all the way out of town, past the empty school bus, and down the dock where Jacob Finney's been asleep for as long as I can remember. Imagine that poor fish, all alone, floating away and away and away. He must feel like the only fish in the sea. I don't know, I felt like these details about this little town really quickly build up this like sense that you get from reading the story of this like little small community, and that's really charming. And this girl was just so great. That's terrible, Sherman. Like, you just really get this, like, her intensity and her seriousness about everything. Because the sea is awfully big, and there are a lot of dangers to face. And she's ranting and imagining all of the stuff in the sea. She names the fish. It's all dialogue. It's so great. The important thing, Sherman, is that Ellsworth stays hopeful and brave, knowing that we're on our way. Hey, Sadie, wait, who's Ellsworth? Sherman, you have to keep up. Every fish deserves a proper name, she says while she's just like, the attitude in her face while she says that line is so like clear to me and really well characterized. So this is a really good like text working with the pictures book for me too. Anyways, the story continues from there. They rescue the fish, and I won't necessarily go into the details of like how they do that because it's not too important what the details are. The point is that it's very surreal, it's very strange, and there's a lot of fun details in the drawings. One of the things I like is that there are balloons that say "Welcome Ellsworth" pop until it says "Woolworth" just randomly. Little visual jokes, I guess, throughout. They've got these monkeys that you can like observe what each individual monkey is doing as the story progresses page by page. So there's a super dynamic. And then they put the goldfish into their little town pond, which is like cute because you have this like sense already in just these few pages of like the sense of community in this small town, and so you kind of feel excited for this fish's little life with all these quirky people in this sort of like Stars Hollow-esque little place. Man, the planes are loud today. So I thought that was really charming. It's a great book. This one's called In the Land of Milk and Honey by Joyce Carol Thomas, illustrated by Floyd Cooper. This one is just kind of a love poem to California, which is interesting. I guess the Bay Area specifically, since they picture the whatever bridge that is, the Golden Gate Bridge, several times. There's a author's note in the back that explains that this is kind of the story about this girl's and her family moving to California from Oklahoma, I think it was, in the 1940s. So it's got that vintage vibe. And I just love it's just like the story itself is a poem, and it's very poetically praising California, and I just like the rhythm of it. Let's see. Daddy says, if lemons are big as oranges, if the oranges are big as grapefruits, if you bite into a strawberry and taste heaven in your mouth, why, you're in California, the land of milk and honey. Mama says, if the redwoods are tall as giants, if golden bears fish like men and quail fly higher than eagles, you know you're in the land of milk and honey. It's got this nice flow to it. It's very, it's just good poetry. Listen to some of this stuff. We ride into late afternoon past a snake whose body is a pen writing calligraphy on the paper dry earth. Like, great phrasing. So in terms of poetry, it's beautiful. In terms of drawings, not necessarily the art style that I like, but I do really like the main character. I think she really stands out. Her eyes are kind of like brighter than these other characters here. And so she has a lot of character to her, and I find her really charming. And there's some interesting moments in the art, actually. This was a really interesting shot. Kind of the coyote chasing the rabbit, sort of maybe enhanced by her imagination. And it really just goes on. They get to California and it continues to, after it explains the beauty of California from a distance, it starts to explain the beauty of California from close up, and it's all really well written. So yeah, good poetry, nice mellow vibe, but the floweriness and the interesting word choices of the language makes it really compelling. So that's great. Okay, two more. This is The Secret of Black Rock by Joe Todd Stanton. The drawings in this one are really charming. The colors are really bright and popping. It's that sort of like concept artist style that sometimes gets on my nerves, but in this case I just liked. This girl lives in a small sea town, and they don't do too much to expand upon the culture or vibe of the sea town, but you kind of get it a little bit. And there's this legendary black rock that ruins all the ships and all the sailors tell stories of. So she sneaks onto her mom's boat, tries to discover it, but then she falls into the depths of the water and is rescued by the black rock, which is a sentient mountain under the sea covered in fishes. And I just love the color and the character design and the everything about this art style. This is such a charming page, and that charmingness kind of echoes throughout the book. So many great shots like that. Look at this awesome shot. This really gives you this sense of like fantasy world building that's really charming, and so does this with all those fish. It's so beautiful. Anyways, it brings her back to town, and the townspeople think it's a monster and want to kill it, but she stands up for it and shows them that as soon as they see all the fish, they decide that the fish are so beautiful that they don't want to kill the monster anymore. And so they build a lighthouse on there, and now she lives there, and here she is hanging off of its nose and looking at the fish, which just like, I don't know, it sparks my imagination. I feel like that is the merit of this book. It kind of does more to like spark my imagination about like what stories would happen after this book, more than I am strictly entertained by this book itself. But the art is so charming, and the story is kind of charming in a little cute fairy tale sort of way that doesn't try to make too much of a point of itself and just kind of like expands upon the mysterious atmosphere of this strange sea monster, you know? So that was fun. Very Tintin-esque typography on the cover, isn't it? Anyways, last book. Okay, you know what? With this book, I have to admit defeat. I give up. I keep on saying in these videos that I don't like wordless books and that I don't like super realistic art styles, but then I keep on breaking that rule. Usually when I mention that rule, it's in the context of breaking it. Here we are, and my favorite book of the week is Chalk by Bill Thompson, which is a wordless book with a hyper-realistic art style. Actually, yeah, I think hyper-realistic is the right word, because it's not that realistic, it's hyper-real, right? The story is that there's a bunch of kids that find that their chalk, whatever they draw in chalk, becomes real. It's a rainy day, but then they draw chalk and it becomes the sun. And then they start experimenting with that and having fun with it. It's a really simple idea. They experiment with what they can create until they create a T-Rex that tries to eat them, and then they draw rain, which washes the chalk away, washing the T-Rex away as well. The joy from this story is not the story per se, but two things. One, the art style itself has this like plasticky shine to it that's amazing, and then two, the expressions of the children are so overdramatic that it's really entertaining. So the color is also just gorgeous. The kids kind of match the colors of their chalk, which is really nice, and then that contrast between the gray of the rainy day is so nice, and it remains cool once it's sunny though. But here she is, like, this is before they start getting excited, before they've realized the magic, but like, can you kind of see this like plasticky, they almost look like, the kids look like they were sculpted out of plastic kind of, and so does the rain. Everything kind of does. There's like, everything's really shiny, and I don't know, there's like this crispness to it that you really probably should see in person. The art in this book is so pretty. Here they're creating the sun that makes their sunny day. But then I'll just skip ahead because I don't have that much time showing you these expressions. It's just so entertaining. It really draws you into the emotions of the world. I thought it was really well done. And it's so evocative, especially with these dramatic shadows here as the butterflies come out of here. Like, everything just feels like dramatic and cartoony, and I just really like it. These kids are like so excited about the butterflies coming out, you know. Where's it? This kid's like, I've got an idea. So charming. Yeah, and then I think the last shot that I really loved was when the boy draws the rainy day. Well, there's, first of all, this is so dramatic with the raindrops close up to the camera and the huge like dinosaur looming ahead of you, above you. That's so cool. But then look at this, just such a cool visual. I could spend so long looking at this. Look at the bottom of its feet as it melts back into chalk color. That's so cool too, and the way that it's like that these parts are melted away, but these parts are not yet, and hovering over emptiness. It's so cool. So really entertaining book, and I hereby declare that I do not dislike realistic art styles. I do not dislike wordless books. They can be great. I have been proven wrong. Okay, anyways, I better go because I have to rush to the library. I think I'll get there with only about 10 minutes to spare before it closes. So peace out, y'all, and I'll catch you next time. Okay, bye.